Family, welcome back to the Empowerment Exchange. I'm your host today, and today we're going to dive into a conversation that's been stirring in our community for a long time. And when we present ourselves, we are it's how we carry ourselves. And my mom always said, "Boy, it ain't always how you look; it's how you carry yourself." And what message are we send without saying a word? This episode is called "Pull Them Up, Put Them Down." So let's talk about that, Sheila.
Good afternoon, family, Facebook friends, and social media. I'm your co host, and I'm Sheila. Listen, this one, and when we talk today, it's not about shaming anybody. Actually, it's about self respect and remembering who we are because sometimes we forget our appearance is still a form of communication to others. It speaks before we even open our mouths. People judge us by the way we look.
You know what? That's real talk. They judge us by the way we look, the way we dress, the way we act, and I mean, it's sort of like a personal evaluation that
Mhm.
they put within yourself. Now, personal stories and identity. When we talk about that, Sheila, let me start with you. When you grew up, we talk about who shaped your understanding of how you should present yourself when you was growing up.
Actually, my father.
Oh wow, okay.
Yes, my father and my mother, but my father more so. Um, we had to be presentable at all times.
That
Um,
old time way.
we couldn't walk around with rollers in our hair or head scarves outside the house. Couldn't even hang out clothes on the line with rollers in our hair. And my father always say, "You better dress yourself up because you're not going nowhere with me looking like that." But my mother was a seamstress, so she sewed. So the clothes that she made us, were very nice clothes and presentable. And it was always how we were brought up in church to present yourself and act like a lady. So I
Hmm.
would say both of my parents, but my father was the one who really enforced it.
Well, when if you say your father played a uh, virtual or important part in your life, I'll salute you. But most people's perception, they're always looking for the lady to form, or the grandmother, or the churchgoers to form your world. And I'm going to say this: growing up in the South, one thing I can tell you, we were poor, but we were rich inside. We learned that word respect. As Sarah, you say, you're not carrying your, I won't use those choice words, behind me looking like a rag muffin. So it's about how you grew up and how you see yourself as a person today. And as I say, you said that your father and them played a big part in you. I mean, Sheila, let let's be real. For me, just for me, I was the man on the block, the troublemaker.
Mhm.
Every time you look up, I was getting in jail, going to jail. I had problem in the schools, but the word still came in many ways respect. So some of those type of things, they was very sharp. But sometimes you can't see things because you can't see the forest or the trees because sometimes you decide to turn your eye the other way or being blind. Put all that stuff together. They taught me something. The word respect. And I learned earlier that how you dress can either open the doors or close the doors. Now, Sheila, you know and I know, you've been a supervisor all throughout your military career, and we always talk about dress and appearance. And I would think that they judge women more harsh than men.
Yes. Saying
So,
I'm glad you're saying that because I had younger women, young ladies, in the military, and I was their flight chief, and I would always have open ranks inspection on their appearance and on their dress. And for some of the women, I gave them tough love because I'm like, look, it's cute, but it's not in regulations.
Mhm.
And when they were going to school or professional military education, I would make them bring their uniforms in, their service dress. I would make sure it would fit them right.
Mhm.
If not, I tell them to get a girdle. And somebody said, "What is a girdle?" So
Right.
you just give them positive feedback. It may not be positive, but it's positive reinforcement to let them know, hey, I want you to represent yourself looking professional, because when you go before a board or you go to school, the first thing they look at is your appearance. They gather perception about you by looking at your personal appearance. And it's more common in women than it is men, because the men will be talking about you.
Yes, that is absolutely true. And even though when you look around, the parents dropping their kids off at school, even the kids looking at the parent and they looking at their personal appearance. And a lot of time, not getting off something, but a lot of time, those teachers do not lead by setting an example. Well, not only teachers, any type of government situation. But for me, myself, people are gonna judge you by the way you look, the way you talk, the way you walk. It's just your gestures,
Mhm.
and their perception of you might be wrong,
Right.
but it's just the way that they see. I mean, how they see you. And sometimes people don't realize it's about survival. I mean, when you look at it, sometimes it's I want to fit in. I mean, you got to look at how people want to fit in. They feel that if they don't fit in, or they might get beat up, or need to join a gang. And sometimes, a lot of times, people don't realize they might just want a lot of attention. And I do, and I don't want to call people out, but the question is, what message do you think you're sending? That is the question. What message are you sending when you got your pants hanging down below your knee? What message are you sending when I mean, showing everything? What message are you sending? You're not being received. That's it.
Well, let's
And
talk about the culture and the pressure and the perception. Let's
okay,
talk about what's happening today. I don't want to see interview. I've interviewed a lot of people. And if a woman comes in there and she's always tugging on her dress because she knows it's too short, she knows she ain't getting the job.
all
But
right.
I'm gonna tell her why she's not getting the job. I don't want these young airmen around standing around looking at you because you think you cute and you out of regulation to me. To me,
Mm-hmm.
it's not all about that. You know, Perception is one thing, but how you carry yourself is also another thing.
That is true. That is.
So revealing clothes, sagging pants, it's not fashion to me.
Mm-hmm.
I know
Well,
it's pressure for some, the youngs today, because they say it's their culture. But why is it said their culture? Why can't you have your own self identity as a young woman? Why can't you
mhm.
respect yourself more?
And just like I say, Sheila, being around the military and holding those positions, and you set a standard, and I don't think you would deviate from that standard. So why would you put out standards out there and you're not following your own rules? And so I can understand from a military point of view, hey, what they call it, 3510 dress and appearance.
It's 362603 now, something like that. It's changed, but it's the
Oh,
old AFR 3510 dress
mm-hmm.
appearance.
I tell you something else. But the world might be, just like I say, they might be reading you a little bit different way. Now, if I came in your office for an interview and I had jeans on and I'm dressed like a bomb, what would be your perception of me? I already know I'm coming for an interview.
Well, first thing I would do, my NCOs wouldn't do it, but I would do it. I'm like, do you understand this is an official interview? I had to say that before.
You had to say,
Wrinkly uniforms, looking like laundry bags. I'm not interviewing you because, first of all, as an NCO, you're supposed to be setting the examples for Aaron to look at. And I'm not going to have you as an instructor in front of my class looking like a laundry bag, because that says a lot about me. My standards, I will keep my standards. And if you cannot meet my standards, you will not be hired.
Wow.
I mean, you may be the smartest person in the world, and I had to tell the chief this, he may be the smartest person in the world, but how he look and what they say out their mouth disqualifies them.
Amen. You know, I can say that, you know, I've interviewed many people, but this message that I want to send to all the brothers out there, if you're listening, let me talk to you for a second. Now, I just need you to turn your computers on. And I know most of y'all going to say, well, what kind of computer you talking about? You turn your ears on, boy. Now, if you're a little slow, I understand that. That's the computer I want you to turn on. And when we walk outside with your pants hanging off you, do you hear what I'm saying, boy? What are you saying? Oh, this is free. You know, you want to give me a call, you know, we can meet up. You know, I mean, you go around the prison with your pants down, boy. I guarantee you'll be glad to pick them back up. But I'm not going to get off into it. But I'm talking to you as to what message that you're sending to the public. What are you communicating when you got your pants down on your knee? People are looking at your undershort. What? Because whether you like it or not, people are reading you. You walk around here, you think it's cool. What's that, Sheila?
But they don't say nothing to them.
But look, why? Look, I know a lot of them, they think the gang member when they walk around with their pants hanging down, they got all these dreadlocks on, and they look like they hide the Georgia pine. And so you say, well, I don't want to say nothing to that boy there because he look like he already have some personal issues. So sometimes you get caught up into a thing where it's that I'd rather not say anything. So,
but I think we do need to say something, especially for younger men and older men. Come here, let me talk to you, because you know what? When we went to church back in the day, you have the old nosy ladies. If they didn't like how you act or what you said or how you look or how you dress, where's your slip, young lady? You know, don't you dress tight? Did you just wake up out of bed and roll up in here? Well, what's going on with you? You know, so
you're right.
Don't be afraid to approach somebody. I mean, you got to be sensitive about your approach because it is a sensitive subject. And some people, you know, they're just not aware. You know, they say, oh, this is the style, and they honestly think they, you know, get in where you fit in.
Yeah.
But it's a community responsibility also. If you know that young lady or that young man is really a good person, pull them aside and talk to them.
Well, I mean, what are you saying about, you know, men need to step up? What do you mean by that? And not to step down?
Just like yourself. If you see it, and you know, most men, when you're in a community or when you know the family, you know, and hey, let me, you know, they may always speak to you, but they have their pants hanging down, or she may have her dress too high. And then you say, hey, let me talk to you for a moment.
You're right. But people are too afraid. But Sheila, I'm gonna tell you that I don't care this old time way of raising kids. You cannot bring that boy around the house looking like some kind of gangster. You cannot bring that young girl around your family looking like, you know what. So it's the sign of respect. And so, you know, when you say, and men need to, other men, we need them to step up. And we don't need them to be a clown, not to embarrass them, but to say, young king, put them up, boy. Put them up. Who you think they would take it more personal towards? If a woman telling them to pull them up or a man telling them to pull them up?
I think it boils down to respect.
Right. Yeah, well, that's true.
I think if you're a respected person that somebody looks up to, or that means no harm and is genuine, and you know, and not just, you know, coming after them, I think they'll listen.
Yeah,
you know,
I think they will also.
And I
You
think
know,
it's all on how you approach it and you talk to them. If you say, some of these guys don't have father figures,
they
and
don't.
as a man in the community or church member or whoever, I think it's a responsibility to make sure, when they get a certain age, okay, you should be carrying yourself a little different now.
That's true.
You
Absolutely.
would expect more. You become a teenager, okay, it's time for you to grow up.
Hmm.
And take on responsibilities, get you a job. Look, if you go for these interviews, you got to look like you want it. You can't go in there with sagging pants or a dress you always pulling down in the chair while you're trying to interview. Uh,
Hmm.
that's the kind of job you're going to get. You like
Uh,
that, you ain't going to get paid.
well, just like I said, I can, older men, we have a responsibility. We need to start modeling our dignity and how we can expect young men to find it. But we have to lead by setting example. Sheila, I grew up in a family. I'm gonna be honest with you. Most of the things that I see happening in the world, it's not the woman, it is the man. And me as a man, we I got to be honest with myself. We most of the time we are the cause and the effect as to why things are the way it's. We need to model our behavior. And Sheila, I'm just asking you personally. I mean, can you tell me about how can you tell women that their worth and their visibility?
Let me make a point on what you just said before I get into that.
Okay.
And let me get on my soapbox. Sometimes men are the reason the women dress the way they do, because men are tempted by a body shape, how it looks. Sometimes they ain't got to visualize because the women showing them everything. So
That's
men are running after that. And so the young women think, well, I need to dress like that. Then I can get attention too. So sometimes men are the ones that's, I don't know how to say
no,
it, but you a
no.
man, you looking at all over here, you with your woman, you looking that way, you all cross-eyed and stuff, and get slapped because you looking at the
Okay.
woman
Are,
walking with the hot pants on.
are we using that as an
In
example?
there, Clayton.
Are we using that as an example of what? Okay. Uh,
I mean, really, as a younger
hold
man,
on. Hold up, Sheila. Go ahead.
your younger self.
Uh-huh.
And back in the day, we wore hot pants and stuff like that, but they weren't ridiculous.
But, let me tell you. Look, I don't care what anybody says. Me as a man, then I'm gonna let you get on you back again. Me as a man, these days, my perception of a woman that wearing these short dresses, it doesn't mean that I'm a judge her, but you got to think about yourself as a woman and with society, how you put yourself out there. And you're looking at all the things women's coming up missing, people getting the cars with men at the first night, or they want to feel like they need to be loved. But I'm gonna say this from experience, and I'm gonna say this, ladies, and I hope that I used to work at a nightclub. I used to run a karaoke show, and all these. I mean, it was a big bar in Chicopee, Massachusetts. And so these ladies come in there. I mean, like I say, ain't nothing wrong with looking nice. I would never forget this night. This black lady was sitting at the bar. She was very, very, very beautiful. And so these two, white men came in. They were dressed nice. So at the bar, they got around one side, the other one, and they started buying her drinks. And all of a sudden, the next morning, I heard that this lady was missing. And last that I've heard, they never found her. So she was dressed. She was minding her own business. You should be able to dress the way you want, but there is a way that you got to look at how people, men especially, how they're going to perceive you, especially when you're drinking alcohol and doing all. They looking at you saying, "Hey, man, it's just a matter of time. If she get drunk, she'll go to bed with me and do anything." I just want to throw that in. I didn't mean to intervene.
But do you think seemed like she was a regular attendant there? Do you think somebody should have taken action? Because that's how like a lot of young ladies go missing.
Mm-hmm.
Said something and knew that she had a lot to drink and say, hold up, man, you know, where you going with this,
Mm-hmm.
because, it could easily be where, the man used to put the things in the woman's drink.
Yep.
So that's what we were taught, if you drink at a club, keep your drink in your hand,
Mm-hmm.
because, sometimes it could be a drug people put in your drink. So do you think that it should have been interception at that point where you saw those two guys came up to the bar? To the bartender said something to somebody said, it's a flag if you see her leave with two men like that.
Right. Well, see, I didn't hear about it until the next morning, but I know the lady, I know the two guys, and they were saying, do anybody recognize these two guys? You got to understand, these men these days, they work in groups. They go to this town, they go to that town, they find out where all the nightclubs are, where all the young girls hang out, and they might come in there, they might look dressed to impress, and they target these ladies. Hey, go get her a drink. Oh, hey, that guy over there sent you a drink. So they're realizing they setting up the hook. So I'm glad that we are speaking about this. This is a very important subject because I got nieces and them out there, and I got moms, sisters. I'm going to say that old time way of raising women is the best way. And I'll let you complete. I didn't want to get on my soapbox, but I'd be talking real talk.
I mean, I'm glad you're saying it because let me talk to the sisters. That's why we sisters, we need to hang together in groups. I'm coming to you.
Exactly.
If you got a friend out there and you leaving a friend at a club, that's not your friend. Because I'm hearing about too many stories of people going to these islands and on these cruises and things like that. And then all of them don't come back alive. So it's a lot of pressure. You can have fun and all that, but when you go together to the club, you leave together from the club.
Exactly.
You can't trust nobody. And I know there's a lot of pressure for y'all to, to look good, show your skin and all that stuff. It ain't cute. Social media made it seem like it's okay, normal. But you got your whole resume out there. Nobody don't want to see that. Not unless somebody is going after something for nothing.
Right.
Hear me out now. Confidence is, you got to have confidence knowing that you don't have to reveal everything as a woman. You need to know your value. We're valued. And when you treat yourself like you're better than that or level up, you're not going to get those riff-raffs coming after you because you could say no, or your friends around you going to say no, she ain't going with you.
I wish you say that again. But everything to be valuable. I just need you to say, for those women's out there, you just need to say, you got to be confident.
Confidence, Clayton, is knowing that you are valued.
Okay, I got you. Yes, that's right. That's true.
You don't have to reveal everything to be valued. You don't have to show nothing to be valued.
Absolutely. I can say that again. That's true. You don't have to reveal anything. So I totally agree to that. And I hope that these women take heed to what you just said. And there is something that I can say that you say women who know she's loyalty doesn't have to have an audience. No. Could you expand on that?
You go somewhere, you carry yourself with confidence. And just by you having confidence about yourself, you're not looking for people, you're not looking for attention. Because if you don't know or self-love yourself enough to say, I have values, I will not lower my values, I'm confident in myself and how I look and everything, you don't need no attention. Attention will come to you, but you don't need no attention.
Exactly.
Because it's the way you carry yourself.
That's true.
It attracts good men, and you know how to read the room.
Right. Exactly. You know how to
read the room. What's that thing? Game, no game.
Right.
Be smart enough. Game, no games, lady.
So, and you got to outslick the slicker. My dad and them told me, said, it didn't took me a while to process it. How can a grease monkey outslick another grease monkey? And I kept saying, how can a grease? He said, well, put more grease on the other one. I mean, he can't grab it. But anyway, that's another story. But Sheila, you know why young ladies are wearing these clothes to reveal too much? Sheila, let's take this gig a little bit deeper because a lot of people are asking, why are so many young ladies wearing clothes that reveal too much these days? And we can't just point fingers. We have to understand the why. Now, can you expand on that? You know, why are they wearing? You know, you little girls wearing them. I mean, to me, do you think that's an invitation? Do you think that a different sign as a young girl?
I think it's competition. I think they want that attention. I think, hey, some of them know it's inappropriate.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to, you know, why you dress like that? You know, it's the type, okay. My stepdaughter, for example.
Mm-hmm.
You send them to school one way, then they get in there and change, right?
You're right. That's true. I've seen that happen.
So she got told on. She got told on because, you know, buy these nice clothes for these girls, and next thing you know, they walking around the school in hot pants. Did I send you to school like that? You know, and blah, 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 blah. And you know what's going to happen next, right?
Well, I can just imagine or visualize. Yeah.
I don't understand why young ladies aren't, why they have to be like everybody else.
They got to fit in. That's the way society have programmed it. Social media is killing these kids. You know, I just got to keep it real because when they see all these different fashion, they see all these models on TV wearing these. I mean, look it up. They want to be like them. You know, I'm gonna give you a good example. My daughter. She's, you know, when you're in the fashion world, you may not look at it just a paycheck. But for me, the way they reveal themselves now with all these sexual predators coming from different states all over the place, they done stalk that club out. They done stalk you out. They know exactly how many days a weekend. They know on the weekend you come in there, you got it all hanging out. Hey man, go get a drink. Hey, beautiful, how you doing, girl? No, I'm doing good. What's drinking? This is on the board. Now I'm just using that for an example now.
Yeah.
So I
sound like you know the game, Clayton.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm
okay. As a man,
yeah.
Let me ask you this: you know, the ladies you can target real easy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you go out there, and then that's the one. Some of them say, "I ain't taking her home to meet my mom because I already know." But
yeah, exactly.
You playing the game to get what you want to get.
Right.
And then you end up marrying somebody else that's complete opposite of what you played the game with. I've seen it happen.
Yep, I've seen that happen also.
So,
and sometimes mom would like to pick your own girlfriend or your boyfriend, and because they like them. But I'm gonna tell you this, real talk. You know, if you've been trained and educated by you know slick dogs when you see them. You know that I know what you're all about. I've been studying you, but you know a respectful woman is not gonna let any kind of man get next to her because she done read him before he pulled up. She already read everything about him, and so that is called someone higher or not tearing them down. So when I'm looking at Sheila, I mean that's people's when you calling people's out, when you call someone higher, does that mean that you're tearing them down?
When you call them higher?
Yeah.
What do you mean higher?
I mean, they calling that is called. Well, no, I that is calling someone higher, not tearing them down. So right before you come on and say we as women, you know, mothers and it's just because you carry yourself a certain way. I'm not going to put you down. As a matter of fact, you carry yourself in a higher standard. Well, I'm going to treat you higher standard. You carry yourself in a low standard. Well, that's how people are going to treat you. And so when I say, tell me exactly as a woman, a mother, or aunt, or mentor.
Well, a lot of ladies, young ladies these days are dealing with identity wounds. You know, just think of
Identity wound.
you
Explain
know,
that.
just think of this. If you're in junior high school or high school,
Mm-hmm.
you're liking a guy, he may be popular, all the girls like him, but you're not getting noticed, and you
Right.
start dressing a certain way to get approval.
That's true.
The purpose, and you start thinking your value in your shape, the way you wear clothes,
Mm-hmm.
instead of your own spirit. So, ladies, your body is not your resume. Your body is your resume.
Oh, okay. Well, sometimes people think that's their resume, but out there showing it.
No, the world told them that their body is, but it's not. You know, it's true empowerment, Clayton, is knowing that as a woman coming from myself, you don't have to reveal everything to be respected. I surely didn't reveal anything to be respected. You have to earn respect.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the way you carry yourself as a woman and as a young lady.
But Sheila, I mean, what about those? You've been around those girls that growing up, people's calling them ugly, fat, nasty. And they grew up as a little kid and they laugh at them. Do you think that could be a sign of the reason why they might want to dress a certain way or act a certain way? Because people don't put them down all throughout the neighborhood. As they grow, they feel they're not worth.
Well, I look at the home front.
Yes.
If you're not shown that you are beautiful as a Black woman and loved as a Black woman from your father and your mother, you don't worry about that. That stuff just roll off your back because you already got the self-esteem knowing that you're confident and that your family loves you the way you are. God made you the way you are. You're a beautiful child. So if you're brought up in a household that encourages you and accepts you for who you are and sets standards and tell you you're a beautiful young lady, don't let nobody else tell you other. That's what us Black mothers need to do with our children. We need to let them know that they're beautiful so they can earn that self-respect and dignity.
Do you think it's hereditary, or you think it's a generational thing that, I mean, when people grow up poor, they always gonna be looked at as less and
no. It doesn't matter on how you grew up. I've seen some of the strongest women that had nothing.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I've seen some of the strongest women that was once homeless and now have everything. So I've been around people like that, Clayton. It's all in them and their self-respect. A queen doesn't have to prove her body worth to nobody, Clayton.
That's true. I totally agree.
A queen knows who she is, and we Black women are all queens. So if we're not told positive things and have positive reinforcement, I can see how in a younger person the self-esteem can bother them and they feel like they're not fitting in and they get in, fit in. And sometimes they're off cue because they're with the wrong people. They hang with the wrong group and they're not really like that, but they're doing that just to be accepted.
Yeah, like I say, I think peer pressure has a lot to do with these kids. I mean, they're under so much pressure, and especially in the things that they're teaching in school. But look, let's talk about accountability without shame. So, Sheila, how do you feel like we need to correct each other without tearing each other down?
You need to, like I said earlier, you need to just pull somebody over privacy. You ain't got to let everybody know that you're talking to this person.
True.
You could say, I remember in junior high school, when I used to mentor in school, the principal there, a lot of the parents got mad at her because she had this rule: if you hold your arm straight down and your dress is higher than a certain level, she's sending you back home. And
Wow.
a lot of the parents got mad, but sometimes you got to do that,
You
to
have to.
you have to call somebody out higher to make them, hey, young lady, that's not acceptable.
But
As a principal, she was setting her standards on which she would accept in school, and the parents got together. They got really mad. But we need to have people check our kids. You
yeah,
know,
but we need. I'm going to say this: when the school got high standard, you got some parents and some kids going to try to get by. When they say wear the pants a certain way, they're going to still wear them below the belt, but they put a shirt over. So what I look at as a military person, when you set standards, don't deviate from them. Let the parents know these are the rules. So if they got to sign some type of understanding, these are the rules. If your kids do not conform to these standards, this is what's going to happen. So I'm going to say it is that, and sometimes we need that. We need that strict accountability.
yeah, and
Have people, check me before, and they
yeah,
help me grow.
yeah,
So
because when a young male or adult know that they're valued and they know their purpose, they don't have a need to reveal their body for attention.
that's true. Absolutely, that is
That
true.
person will automatically start dressing like they know that he or she is chosen. And you could tell the difference between young adults today who has that confidence, who carries themselves
Hmm.
um, very courteous, yes sir, no sir. Um, when they're talking to adults, not using any kind of language,
Slang.
and if people allowed him to use that language and slang, Clayton, that even enables them even more. So
I,
we have to, as adults, we are responsible to make corrections. I'm gonna say, hold up, wait a minute. I'm not accepting that behavior. I'm not accepting that language. I say I'm an adult, and you will speak to me like I'm an adult.
and you
You're not
stand
on,
firm.
not on the same level with me.
Hmm.
You're a young child. If you don't set those standards, but you know what? They start in the home.
You're right.
They
Those
start
standards
at
begin at
home.
home.
They start
Hmm.
at home.
Hmm.
They start at home.
And so that's when I used to always hear my mom used to say, uh, charity begins at home. You raise a child in the way he should go, he would never depart from you. But if you are allowing that child to dictate whatever he wants to, this is the problem that we're dealing with. When the kids don't get love at home, Sheila, they would go out on the street. Anybody give them attention, they fall for it because they feel like, hey man, mom out all night, dad out all night. I don't. So they become involved into a very deadly situation. As a result, they didn't have that upbringing come from home. And I got to say this. And when we look at it, Sheila, and if we didn't have someone to teach you before, you had someone to teach you morals and values at an early age. And that was okay. Well, this is my message. You can start today. You don't have to wait till tomorrow. You can start today. And the thing is, though, we can set a new standard for yourself. We also can set a standard for the next new generation. Is that Sheila? I'm quite sure that you've probably heard this throughout the military.
Well,
With the difference between a winner and a loser. A winner always make things happen, and a loser let it happen. And the difference, a good leader, a bad leader, a leader would always lead by setting example. A leader will lead his troop down a path where no one ever been, because that leader, the one going to leave a trail for that person to follow. We got to lead by setting example. We got to
I
have.
got I got to add this. Um, in the beginning, you say who influenced me a lot about dress,
Mm-hmm.
and I said my father. And a lot of times people would say their mother. My mother did too, but I think my father did so more because it was 5 girls, and my father was in the military. So my father already had, he was a E8, and he already had standards
Mm-hmm.
at his job and carried himself with high standards. So he brought that into the home and expected us to have high standards and respect ourselves too.
Wow.
So I think growing up as a child, when I had that, it helped me. So, better myself in the way you carry yourself with respect, and respectful to your adults and
Mm-hmm.
how you speak to them and things like that. So since I was brought up in a military home, I think I had the advantage, but it was different, but we were expected to do certain things.
There you go. There.
We had tasks we had to do. We had to cook, we had to clean, we had to sew, we had to rake the yard, we had to cut the grass, take out the trash. So measure the oil stick, the oil, and the way,
Right. Right.
so we were brought up with a lot of responsibilities, and also when we went somewhere, we were inspected. you know,
Right. Right.
where's your slip? Got your
Yeah.
handkerchief?
Yeah.
Where, you know,
But
so you had certain things that you had to have in order when you left out that house. But
but saying that, as I said, the way we grew up, the way things are now, they need us. We need to. We need to help develop strong women, strong men. Them kids out there, they can be saved. But we got to have women's program, girls, boys program, and we got to have good leaders because we can save these young girls that walk around here. They might be insecure, but we can come together and make them see their life in a different way. You don't need to reveal or do this or that for your identity. So, what closing reflection? I mean, what thing closing reflection, Sheila, that you can give us?
okay, let me say this to everyone, to every young man and woman out there listening. You don't have to dress like the world. Everybody you see, all these people in high places, movie stars and all that. You don't have to dress like that in the world to be accepted. And you don't have to expose yourself to be valued. You don't have to sag your pants, man, to be seen as tough. Because all of y'all ain't tough. You just sagging your pants just because everybody else is.
That's true.
So act like you got some values with yourself and self-respect. Dress like it and walk like it. And people will recognize you, and you will set yourself apart from those others.
Look, Sheila, I got to totally agree. And that's what. Pull them up, boy. You know the song about pull your pants up. Pull your pants up. I don't want to see your butt. Pull your pants up. So I'm telling you, and ladies, I'm saying to you, pull them down. Pull them down. You don't have to walk around here with them all you dressed up around your waist. Boy, I'm telling you right now, you better stop pulling your pants up because you're sending the wrong message out there. And what that really mean, you need to pull up your standards. That's all we saying. Ladies, when we say pull them down, that's for your own safety.
We don't need the pants. We need the dress.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, you know what? Oh, girl, I'm gonna say something, girl. But you know what? Pull down the thing that don't honor you, and step into who God have created you to be. So I hope that all of y'all out there listening to this video, and please, the name, if you want to know who we are, and we're going to say we are the Empowerment Exchange. This is what we talk, real talk. Mm-hmm. We're not going to talk anything that we don't know. We talk about, you can believe we done research, develop everything we need to do. So when we come at you, our job is to empower. exchange ideas, pass, sharing, because we care. And so our next episode, please tune in. Please make comments. And like I say, we're only going to get better and better, but we need your support. Now, what's the name of this? What? Oh, exchange. No, empowerment exchange. See, she got it wrong already. But anyway, no, I'm not talking about you, Sheila. But
the empowerment exchange.
Yeah. But it had a lot to do with my accent. But anyway, that's another story. But look, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure as well as a privilege. We pray to God that you and your family are doing well. And if you're not doing well, pray to God and ask him for healing. So until next time, we're going to keep rolling. Bye-bye.